climate goals and to help us become one of the greenest ports in North America when it comes to cruise traffic. So without any further delay, it's my pleasure to introduce David Roberts. David, perhaps you could just tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been with Pinwitz? Where are you from? Favorite hockey team? And then we'll go from there. So again, thanks for taking the time, and over to you.
Well, thanks very much, Ian. It's a pleasure to be here. So yeah, let's start at the beginning. Not too early, obviously, but I grew up in Toronto back in the 80s, were my heydays in Toronto. And so, of course, if you want to talk hockey, you got to talk the Leafs. So I lead a very sad life, waiting for them to maybe do something one day. But, we'll see what happens. I always have hope, but it's always dashed. So that's just the life of being a Leaf fan. I've been here since 1989 here in Victoria. And I just love it. One of the things about coming to Victoria was noticing how different and how beautiful it is, and really learning from an early time when I first got here, how important the environment, how important the community is in a city like Victoria. So it's been a great experience to be here. And I've been in the tourism industry since 1994. I actually started as a double-decker bus driver, giving tours to people who would come to the city, and it was great.
So, okay, you're a Leafs fan. I won't hold that against you, but so let's talk about motor coach, bus transportation. And okay, so before we begin, I got a burning question. What's the difference between a bus and a motor coach?
So think of it this way, really it's up to the individual. So a bus, I always look at a bus like a transit bus. A motor coach goes much further distance as a general rule. So a motor coach you take on a long distance traveling trip. Okay,
so let's talk about Pinwitz. Tell us about kind of how it was created, when it was created, and kind of what's the vision of the organization.
Yeah, so Pinwitz really started back in 2017, and it was created through an amalgamation of a couple of different partners at the time, both ourselves and Wilson's Transportation. And it was created to advance the goals that the GVHA had, and we had as well, which was to have a greener port, have cruise be more sustainable. And so the first thing that we did was to upgrade the fleet. Back in 2015, 2016, the average age of the fleet was about 1984. Mm-hmm. We moved it from 1984 in that first year to 2006. And then we are now, every bus has at least a 2010 or newer engine in it. So we've really moved the needle in that regard.
What's the magic about a bus age or an engine age of 2010? What's the magic around that?
Yeah, so the magic around 2010 is that's when the strictest rules came into place at that time. So in California, 2010 was the golden rule, if you will. It had the lowest NOx, SOx, and particulate matter, had the least amount of GHGs going into the environment, that sort of thing. So we always hit 2010. And you have to look at it from the cost as well. So the cost of a brand new coach, if you were buying one today, you're looking somewhere in the neighborhood of about $650,000 to $700,000, versus bringing in something that's 2010. And what is the emissions that bus will give off versus something that's brand new, say 2020? So there's not a huge difference right now. 2010 is when the massive change went into place, where you really knocked down that amount of emissions.
So I also, one of the statistics that we've looked at is you've talked about how, the engine age of the motor coaches, the buses, has improved significantly. But I also think there's been some efficiency in terms of reducing or minimizing the number of tires on the road as we talk about it. The fact that we've seen such a significant increase in cruise passenger count, how has the number of buses adjusted based on that?
Yeah, so when we saw that the number of people coming off the ships was going to increase more than just a regular amount, we looked at that actually as a challenge and an opportunity to change our fleet. Now, of course, the problem with changing your configuration of the fleet, we used to have about almost every vehicle was a coach, and there were about 2 or 3 double-deckers in the mix. We are now at 25 double deckers and 20 coaches. And so, that took a massive investment from our parent company, Western Stevedoring. So I want to give a shout out to them for being able to fund that kind of investment. We ended up putting $16 million into the bus company, if you will, in order to move to more people per bus. So a double decker will hold 87 people, a coach will hold 56. So simple math tells you that if you switch to all double deckers, you'll have less buses on the road, but more people can ride those buses.
Okay, so really trying to minimize the increase in bus movements. Moving to double decker buses obviously makes that movement much more efficient. What are some of the biggest challenges in terms of moving passengers on and off the terminal?
Well, I think the biggest challenges we face, there's a number of different challenges and opportunities that come with moving the vast amount of people that we take care of. So one is to move them off the terminal as quickly and efficiently as possible, but also in the most environmentally sustainable way. So I'll give you an example. If a ship is in for 5 hours, as an example, you want to have your highest capacity buses going out first, making sure that as many people are on the bus and get into downtown, get dispersed within the community and out to the outlying areas and attractions as quickly as possible. But then what you want to do is make sure as time goes on, if it's been an hour and a half since the ship's been in, you will hold the bus instead of sending it with just a few passengers through the community. You'll hold it, fill it up to make sure that it gets out and still gets to downtown, but you're doing it with lots of people on board. Same with coming back. You want to make sure that you're full coming back. So we try to logistically map out how each ship goes, and each ship is a different puzzle. So if a ship is in for 8 to 12 hours, for example, as a lot of our ships are, so what happens then is we will go hot and heavy, as we say, send out lots of buses in the beginning, and then we ramp back. We take it back to maybe 3 buses in a loop for the shuttle. And so there's a shuttle bus going through the community about every 20 minutes, as opposed to, just running them over and over again. So we really look to the community to try and respect their chance of having a good time.
Okay, that's good. Let's talk a little bit about the fleet. You've mentioned the move to double-decker buses. Can you tell me more about the equipment that Pinwitz owns and operates?
Sure. So we have switched, as I mentioned, to almost half of double-deckers. We have 25 double-deckers and 20 coaches. Now, within that 25 double-deckers, we actually piloted the first 2 electric double-deckers, fully electric double-deckers in North America started in October of 2016. We took the first one. And this is a little bit of a sore spot for me because, of course, we were very happy when the buses came in. Yeah. Not the greatest reception afterwards, because in that first bus, we had it for 3 years and still own it. 31 days of operational use in 3 years.
Wow.
So yeah, not a great news story by any stretch. But what it led us to is, it gave us a lot of valuable insights into how do we go forward? What's the next steps? Because, when it ran, people loved it and it worked great. It's just, it didn't run very often. So that was a problem. We also, there were many challenges that went with that as well. For instance, because we were the first, people always tell me we weren't on the leading edge of technology. We're actually on the bleeding edge of technology. Yeah. And I think that's very apropos considering what we've gone through. But, some people will take that as defeat and look at it as, okay, I'm not doing anything else. We don't look at it that way. We look at it as a challenge to do better and find the right solution. And we believe we have going forward.
Okay. So yeah, I remember the excitement that we both shared and organizations shared when we talked about the electric buses, and it's been a real painful learning curve, but I think it was, I can say this is we had all the right intentions, right, to try and find more efficient ways and to move people on and off the terminal. So I guess you just chalk it up to good learning, right? It's an expensive process, but an expensive lesson to learn, but still a good process to go through, I guess.
Yeah, it was a $3.4 million lesson to learn. So certainly we learned a lot. But having said that, I think we did the right thing.
Yeah.
I really do believe we tried our best and we did the right thing. And the most important thing to come out of this is how not to make that same mistake again and move the company forward and move the environmental goals that we have forward.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I mean, okay, so shifting away from electric, what does the future hold in terms of technology and the fleet?
Right. So our future really is in hydrogen fuel cell. After the last 18 months, I've spent the last 18 months with our team looking at different options, different opportunities, and hydrogen fuel cell definitely is the way to go. We're talking about Canadian technology here with that hydrogen fuel cell and Ballard Power. So, this is not something we're going to do overnight, right? This is going to take some time. So we've come together. Instead of doing this on our own, we've combined our forces, if you will, with Synergy here in town, with the universities, with BMT, which is our service provider for maintenance, and also using any resources that we could find within the industry. So our goal is to convert our buses, not buy new buses, but actually use the buses we have and convert them into hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. So one of the reasons we want to do that, and I think it's really important, is that if we just went and bought a brand new bus, we'd have to sell the bus we have. So it would get sold into some other community or some other geographic region, and whatever pollutants it has are still going to be there and be in the global environment. So when we talk about sustainability, we look locally, but we really look globally. We want to make sure that whatever we do has a positive impact on the environment for everyone. As we all share the earth, we all share the air we breathe. We want to take that bus out of the cycle and put in something that's going to do much better.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit more about hydrogen fuel? Like how is it more beneficial for the environment, and how does it work? Is it okay? I'm not a scientist. Is it a gas? Is it a liquid? I mean, how does that work?
Okay, so I'm going to use the same comment. I am not a scientist, but having done a fair bit of research on this, I'm going to do the 101, and someone out there is going to correct me, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
So the only emission that you'll get from a hydrogen fuel cell bus is tap water.
Okay.
Right? You're going to get H2O. So that's great. Now, you always hear the comments about, well, electric is this and hydrogen is this. And, the reality is for long distance travel, batteries aren't at a place that we can really use them. But the battery is essential because it is still part of a hydrogen fuel cell bus.
Okay.
The real difference, the battery is what moves the wheels and makes the bus go. But what powers the battery? Is it more batteries like in our all-electric double-decker, or is it the electric charge that's created from the hydrogen fuel cell? And in this case, we're looking at using hydrogen and the hydrogen fuel cell to create the charge that will move the bus forward. It extends the range. So your range is similar to using a diesel vehicle. The charging is really easy. So one of the bonuses of fueling a hydrogen fuel cell bus is it fuels just like a diesel coach. You put in the nozzle and away you go. Where with electric, it was 8 hours to charge our buses from 0 to hero. But, we could have used superchargers, super fast chargers, but that degraded the battery, and the battery is the most expensive part. So that really didn't make a lot of sense going down the road. As well as the infrastructure needs, a lot less from an infrastructure point of view, from a hydrogen fuel cell consideration versus electric or full electric. So you don't need a charger for every vehicle, whereas an electric, I do need a charger per vehicle. So that's really the big differences for us. There's all sorts of talk about, there's a lot of rare earth minerals that are used in battery production and how do you dispose of the batteries? But you could make all sorts of arguments on the hydrogen side as well. Really, it's about what makes sense for the environment and for us at zero emissions. Also, how long between charges? We have to be able to fuel and run our buses. Okay.
So with the electric buses, like you said, I think it was bleeding edge technology. Are there other bus companies, transit companies that are using hydrogen fuel right now? Are we now back to where we were with electric, that we're bleeding edge, or have you got other examples of where this has worked in buses and motor coaches?
Yeah, so this is actually very popular, or becoming very, very popular over in Asia and Europe. There's 3,200 hydrogen fuel cell buses currently on the road. So this is by no means are we the first.
Okay.
We may be the first in Canada when we get it done, but we're not going to be the first, that's for sure, elsewhere. You've got over 3 million miles being done in hydrogen fuel cell buses. The Orange County Transit Authority now has 10 in its fleet. And here's the thing, this is not just about buses. Hydrogen fuel is now being used in train travel. It's now being used in the shipping and marine industry. It's going to be used for heating homes. So there's so many different applications that can go with it that are already currently being utilized, that we are right at the best point. I think we're really well positioned, especially here in Canada, to take advantage of the hydrogen market.
Okay, fantastic. Just a reminder to anyone that's listening, feel free to send David or me a question. Use the chat function, and we'll get your question answered. So, David, so how close is Pinwitz to beginning, that the transition, or to start that refurbishing, if I can call it, of the buses? When do you think that might occur? And what does it cost to make that change so that a bus can run on a hydrogen fuel?
So our proposal is a little unique compared to most. So what we're proposing is not just to convert our fleet, not to convert one bus or our fleet, but also act as a transportation conversion hub. So we're dealing with all levels of government right now for funding, and this funding will go towards setting up a facility where we can convert heavy-duty vehicles into hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. So not just greening the port, but greening everything around it.
Oh, okay.
And so we're looking to the government for help in this, which we've gotten a very good response from them, and we hope that it will continue to be that way as we move forward. As to when can you expect the first hydrogen fuel cell bus on the road? It's a great question. It really depends on funding, but our goal is to have our first bus on the road by 2022, sometime in the 2022 season, if everything goes according to plan. But this is to answer your question, how much is it going to cost? The first bus to convert is going to be about the same as a new bus, about 1.7 million.
Wow.
It's a double decker. These are double deckers we're quoting. Now, once we've developed the technology, you'll be looking somewhere around the $500,000 range. So now well under the price of a brand new bus. And again, the fact that you're reusing the same equipment, you're actually protecting the environment even more than buying a brand new bus.
Okay, wow. So I guess the natural question might be, have you reached out to BC Transit? Because it sounds like if you're wanting to create this conversion hub, so it's not just for Pinwitz buses, but other vehicles, the natural question would be, is BC Transit looking at this?
Yeah, and we've actually I had a chance to chat with Chad before I came on here at BC Transit, and we talked quite a bit about this, and we're going to continue to talk about it. They have a unique situation to us. Of course, their buses are driven a lot further than ours are, being as they're year-round and doing routes continuously. So it's a different challenge for them, but we are working cooperatively with them to see how we can benefit each other. Because what we found going through this process is the more people and more businesses you bring into the tent, the better the ideas are and the better chance for success. So that's been great working with them and talking with them about it, as we've been talking about it with our partners at Wilson's Transportation, as well as the trucking industry within British Columbia as well, because we see this, we talked to the Victoria Airport Authority. They were looking at maybe using that facility to turn some of their vehicles into hydrogen fuel cell vehicles as well. So this could apply right across the industry.
Okay, well, okay, good. So that sounds exciting, and I know you've shared with me some of the work you've been doing on this, and I think it's a real natural fit with what from our side, working to really become one of the greenest ports in North America, not just from a cruise emissions perspective, but also from everything else we do, and obviously ground transportation is a big part of that. Let's shift a little bit and talk about how your organization is working with GVHA to prepare for the safe resumption of cruise. And I got to believe that there's careful thought and planning being put into place around if you're in a situation of where let's just say at the start of cruise, whenever that is, there has to be social distancing protocols in place. Obviously, then you're not getting the same efficiency, with the motor coaches. So can you talk a little bit about that and kind of the early thoughts you've got around moving passengers on and off the terminal in a COVID world?
Yeah, this has probably taken up more time than anything else in our daily life for sure. And
Yeah.
so, we've been working on this plan since about March, April, once COVID was really first known here.
Yeah.
And, we've gone through, well, between my team and I think we've gone through about 10 different plans easily, just trying to figure out where we're going to be when cruise comes back. And of course, cruise is only going to come back when it's safe to do so. And we're told by our health authorities that it's time to resume cruise. And
Right.
that's great. We're working with them, as you are, in order to make sure that cruises return safely for everybody. So, we've got a number of plans still in the hopper. The problem is we don't really know what's really going to happen when cruise comes back. So what we've done is we've built a number of plans that are scalable based on what position we're at. So for instance, is COVID still going to be, where's the vaccine going to be at when cruise comes back? We don't know. What we do know is that we have to do better and we have to do things differently. So one of the steps we're taking is we're getting foggers that we will be able to fog each of the buses, which will disinfect the buses between trips. And so that's going to be a mainstay of what we do on top of our regular cleaning. Sorry, you might be able to hear my dog in the background there.
Yeah, you got mailman or mail person.
Exactly.
Yeah, mail carrier.
So mail delivery, so that's okay. So then, so we've got that. We've got our cleaners that go on the buses and they deep clean every bus each time it goes out, as well as our staff are being trained in the proper protocols. They'll have the proper PPE in order to deal with any customers or, same with drivers. We're a little bit unique in our situation because our drivers tend to be a little bit older. And so, we have an increased sense of safety that we need to use around them and make sure that all of our staff and the community in which we work are kept safe and secure. And so we are making those plans.
Yeah, it's really, for both of us, it just depends on what crystal ball do you look in on any particular day, right? Yeah, but fair to say, it sounds like, you're as expected and not surprising, you're looking at all different kinds of scenarios and looking ahead to what you need to do to keep the buses safe, clean, and secure. Okay, let's shift gears just a little bit. You sound like you're a blend of a bus guy and a tourism guy. So what's been one of your most interesting experiences in terms of helping visitors and that interaction with the visitors?
Personally speaking, it would be from my days of actually driving the bus. Because that was a lot of fun. I got to say, to be around happy, smiley people all the time who are on vacation, what more could you ask for out of life? It's great. And so, and having fun with people and telling jokes and, seeing the lights go on, like the light in their faces as they see Victoria for the first time. I think one of the ones that really resonated with me actually wasn't in Victoria. I was doing a multi-day trip out to the Rockies with some Australians, actually with Scenic Tours. And it was the first time, it was in October, it was the first time most of those people had seen snow, and there was snow going on in the Rockies. We actually pulled over the bus, and you can imagine most of the people are in their 60s. They're filing off the bus in the middle of the Rockies, and they're standing out there with their mouth open and their tongue hanging out, trying to catch snowflakes. And it was just amazing because, of course, they don't experience that. And we forget what we take for granted here, that other people that come here and just, it's a wow moment for them. And that was one that I'll remember forever, for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's a neat experience. Okay, let's get back, maybe a little deviation. Let's get back to transportation. Obviously, motor coach, bus movement on and off the terminal is just one phase of how we're moving passengers. I know it's not your specific area, but you're down in the terminal. Maybe you can talk about, other modes of transportation and how buses just is obviously a big part of it, but one part to maybe talk about the other modes of transportation that passengers can take to get on and off the terminal?
Sure. I mean, one of the most popular ways to get on and off the terminal is simply by foot, right?
Yeah.
GVHA has done a great job of signage and wayfaring as people make their way into the city. And it's a great news story as far as I'm concerned, that about 30% of the people who come off the ship will find their way into Victoria just walking.
Yeah.
And what a better way to explore our neighborhoods than walking through them. So yes, you've got buses which will take you in. There's taxis, there's pedicabs. I mean, we've got a great pedicab service down on the pier. There's e-bikes. There are, I'm probably forgetting some, and a horse and carriage come to mind. There's all sorts of ways to get off the terminal. And a number of ways to go as you're going into the community. One of the things I like to do is when I go down to the terminal, I listen to our staff who are telling people, of course you can get on a shuttle, but you can also walk to town. And the volunteers, the Destination Creator Victoria volunteers that are down there, handing out the maps, showing people how to get into town and different routes they can take. That really is amazing to watch people, and they're amazed that they can actually walk into town, and it's only a 15 or 20 minute walk.
Yeah.
And so that really is a great way for them to go and see everything.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I think it's really clear that you don't look at pedicabs or e-bikes as being competition. It's just a complementary service and giving people multiple choices to get on and off the terminal, right?
Yeah, I mean, we are here for one reason and one reason only, and that's to provide an experience to people and to make sure that their memory of Victoria is a positive, lasting memory. It doesn't matter to me. Sure, I'd love to have everybody on my bus. Let's be honest, I'd love to have everybody on the bus, but I really want them to enjoy their experience in Victoria. And to a lot of people, that's walking, that's biking, that's whatever you want it to be. And some people, just enjoy the amenities of the terminal, like the barge down there is a huge winner. That one just does great.
Yeah. And I think for us as an organization, it is being able to provide multiple opportunities, green opportunities for people to get on and off the terminal. And I'm glad you talked about, people walking. I remember, we set an objective along with the JBNA to increase the number of people walking on and off the terminal. And I think we've achieved that number, and in fact, slightly exceeded that target that we had set. So, while 30% is a good number, there's still some let's talk about, you do spend a lot of time when cruise ships are in, you spend a lot of time down at the Victoria Cruise Terminal. What would be one of your favorite parts of the terminal, David?
I think it's just a one-word answer: barge. I mean, I love it there, obviously, but one of the things I really find interesting about the terminal is, and I'm a big people watcher, so when I go places, I like to watch the crowds and see how people interact. Just watching, you go down there at night on a Friday or Saturday night, see the ships lit up, which is a beautiful sight when they're all lit up like that. See the people milling about, seeing how they interact with one another and how they come off the terminal, on the terminal. Unfortunately, that's my thing. I like watching people. I like watching, the interactions and seeing the looks on people's faces and how happy they are to be in Victoria.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just tending to the other piece of the technology here. Yeah, it's a lively place, and I know that there's many residents from James Bay and that come down to just be down there because it's a real exciting kind of place to be, and there's lots of things to see, and it really is a different space. Again, just a reminder, if you've got any questions for David, to just use the chat function, and we'll make sure those questions get answered. And so, let's talk about employment. In season, how many people would Pinwitz employ, David?
So at the heart of the season, we have close to 100 employees between part-time and full-time. So we've got our drivers, our safety team on the pier, we've got our shuttle staff, we've got our management in the office. And, like I said, we ramp up to close to 100 people. We've really made a conscious decision, during COVID, of course, we were shut down and our revenues were gone, as for a lot of companies. But, you know, luckily we are owned by Western Stevedoring as our parent company, and we were able to weather the storm better than most, I think. And they actually gave us not just enough to weather the storm, but actually come out on top. So, you know, that's what's led to all of our environmental sustainability goals. Some of those are also goals that are closer and nearer and dearer to my heart. For instance, a lot of the UN SDGs goals. So, you know, we make sure that we pay above the living wage. We make sure that, you know, from a safety point of view, our drivers are tested at least twice a year, and sometimes more often than that, which is more than what the law prescribes for. We make sure that we are inclusive in our hiring and how we deal with things. But really what we understand that, you know, we're 6 month a year opportunity, but we pay year-round wages. So, you know, that's the tough part. And I want to give a shout out to the GVHA for standing behind us, because when we came into being, we had to charge a much higher rate for the hourly bus rate than anybody would have ever imagined, in order to run the business and make it worthwhile and pay those wages. And I know, Ian, you took a lot of flack for it. I certainly got a lot. I heard a lot about it, but it was the right thing to do. And now we're there. So, you know, it was great.
Yeah, I think that's a story that not a lot of people know, is that right when we made the commitment to Pinwitz and you made the commitment to go out and invest in technology, what it meant was we had to charge a higher hourly rate to the cruise lines for their shore excursions and moving people. And yes, there were some very, very tough discussions, but I think what grounded both you and I was that it was the right thing to do for the community and the environment. And again, not a lot is talked about that. And I'm glad you brought it up, because it was, I think, a real shift change for our organization and for Victoria, in that we said to the cruise lines, you know, no, this is what we're going to do, and it's the right thing to do. And there were some very, very, very tough discussions, that's for sure. So now, you know, with no cruise, are the buses operating?
The buses are somewhat operating. So when I say operating, you have to keep a bus moving in order to keep its useful life going. So we have our drivers working, and our drivers are taking the buses out, putting them through their paces, making sure that, you know, the different areas of the buses stay lubricated and that sort of thing. But not as much as we'd like to see, obviously. You don't want to drive a bus just aimlessly through the community. So we take it out as little as we can, but certainly with respect to, you know, our maintenance program. And I also want to throw a shout out to BMT, our maintenance provider. They do a great job in keeping our buses on the road, a great job in making sure that even in this time when we're not able to drive and really get use out of the bus, they're making sure they're in tip-top shape so that when we do come back to work next year or next season, we're going to be ready. And it's going to be with the highest caliber of equipment that's out there.
Okay. Well, listen, as we're sort of maybe just wrapping up, is there anything that you'd like to share that maybe I haven't asked you in terms of the work you're doing?
You know, I think the one thing that we want to talk about is the group that I work with, because I've never been so privileged as to work with the staff that we have here at Pacific Northwest Transportation, from our Assistant General Manager, Courtney Christ, to our Operations Manager, Anna Percher, and right down the line. It's great. They are a fabulous crew, and they do a lot of the heavy lifting. You know, I get to come on camera, but they're the ones who actually are doing most of the heavy lifting, and I have to send a shout out to them and to our head office, because honestly, without Western Stevedoring, we wouldn't have the environmental sustainability program that we currently do.
Yeah, no, it's, you know, you're absolutely right, and from my perspective, I enjoy working with Courtney and Anna thoroughly. They are really tremendous assets to the organization. Well, listen, David, you know, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to come on and you know, just talk to us about what Pinwitz is doing. And so I wish you all the best over the holidays. So happy holidays to you. And please give my best to your staff. And just for those of you on, again, happy holidays to all of you. Merry Christmas. Thank you for joining us. More Waterside chats to come. Follow us on social media and you'll get more information as to when and where they will occur. So thanks everyone. Really appreciate you participating. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye.